Welcome back to the Spring to Life podcast. I'm Caitlin. I am your host. I'm a holistic hormone health coach, fertility awareness educator, and Pilates instructor. I created the Spring to Life method in 2020 to help educate other women on how to balance their hormones naturally, live cyclically, love their periods, and just live without any symptoms. So this podcast is all about sharing tools and education for you to achieve just those goals. And I'm very excited today because I have a repeat guest, Julia Manski of Manski's Wellness, on the show today. And we are going to dive into some nutrition topics and talk about her new product line with Manski's Wellness. So if you haven't listened to Julia's previous episode in season 1 of the podcast, you go back, she's probably like episode 3 or 4. We talked a lot about seed cycling. She has some great seed cycling blends with her company. So if you want to learn more about that, go ahead and listen to that episode. But Julia, give us a little introduction for those that are new to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julia. So basically, I own a seed cycling company called Manski's Wellness, like Caitlin was talking about. It's all about empowering women to really put their health into their own hands. So we create functional food products that are geared towards supporting hormones, like a seed cycling kits, and also our new product that we're going to talk about is the MBody bars. Basically, they're like a multivitamin and protein bar in one, but it's just about giving women simple approaches to support their hormones and making them convenient and also tasty. Really embracing the food first approach to hormone balance. My background's in nutrition, so I've always had a passion for nutrition ever since I was younger. And I also used to do holistic health coaching. So I knew when I had a lot of women who dealt with a lot of hormonal issues, including myself coming off of birth control, I wanted to really create a company that was really focusing on that type of person. So I feel like that type of person is typically left out a lot in today's society. So that's kind of all about how I started the company, really where the focus is.
I love it. And your seed blends, I know I love using them, and I know they've been so helpful to so many women in just helping to regulate their cycles and eliminate PMS symptoms. It's just such a simple thing that you can add into your daily nutrition that makes such a huge difference. And I love that you are doing these nutrient bars now, the MBody bars. Was that something that at the onset of the company you thought about doing, or was that something that you kind of saw a need for?
It was honestly a combination of both, because when I started the company with the seed cycling kits, it was something that I knew the seed cycling kits, not that it was limiting, but I knew that I wanted to create something that was for more women, just more types of people to get their hands on it. So it started off with seed cycling, but I kind of had in the back of my head that I wanted to create a more original product than just, a kit with just the different seeds. I wanted to create something that could, quote unquote, be more scalable in the long run. And I always loved bars. And so that's kind of how it came about, was I used to do more farmers markets, more in-person, field marketing types of things in my business. I noticed when I was doing the seed cycling, a lot of people were either pregnant and, wanted something to consume that was more nutritional, women who were even postmenopausal, looking for support that way for bone health, and even just people just wanted something that was more tasty, convenient, already there, we all do, and something that had all the foods that we really needed to support our body. So it kind of, again, it was a mixture of both, because I always know I did the seed cycling. I wanted to create a product. I didn't know what that was, but I'm someone who always I love starting before I'm ready. That's kind of something I've always done. I was I'm just gonna, start selling the seed cycling kits when I did coaching. And then I kind of migrated more into a product-based company and started getting more feedback. So the bar idea, I would say I knew I was going to do a bar 6 months in of doing the seed cycling kits. And that was just from doing little farmers markets. I wasn't really selling online at the point. But I didn't really start doing the development of the bar until literally a year ago. So that's a big thing. I definitely launched the bar super fast. I think it was last January, but there's just been so many learning experiences on the way, because I think I know when I sent you my bars, they were I think February or March timeframe. So they've changed a lot since then. And right now I'm even looking for a co-packer. So
that's incredible. Yeah. As someone who is constantly evolving my offerings and like just putting it out there, you know, when there's still things that need to be done. I can relate to that, but it's, you know, it's been successful so far for you. So it's something that people received well. And I have watched how your product has evolved over the past year, because I think, yes, I got your first iteration of the bars right after I moved to Montana. So it was February or March. And I know you've like up-leveled the packaging and like how you're producing them and everything. And I think it's really cool because there are other seed cycling companies out there, but to my knowledge, there's not any that are doing any macro or micronutrient bars the way that you are doing. And I love the quality and the content of these bars. And you have 3 different flavors, right? They're all delicious. So maybe first tell us what sets your bars apart from like what else we're seeing in the supermarket. And then maybe you can just give a little overview of each of the flavors.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. So something that I always looked at when I look at bars is how a lot of the bars in the marketing is always kind of geared toward macronutrients. That's the first I want to point out, because it's always about macros, and because it's not a lot of education around. It's kind of like women's health, like menstrual cycle health. It's the same thing. No one really understands that, you know, yes, macronutrients are important to have balanced macros on your bar, but everyone was leaving out the one thing that I thought was really important. That was micronutrients. So basically, for anyone who doesn't know, macronutrients are carbs, fat, and protein. We obviously need those. Those are what are going to give us energy. They are basically the nutrients that give us calories. So energy, really important. But micronutrients are going to be vitamins and minerals. So those are really important. And that's kind of the whole concept of the bar is, you know, really using real food that's high in certain vitamins and minerals that women need in larger amounts to support our bodies. So that was the biggest thing that kind of always pointed out to me in the past couple of years, that there wasn't anything like that. So there's nothing like that was going to be higher in those micronutrients. All I was seeing was things that were like natural and macro, like balanced macros, things like that. And even the ones that were clean, a lot of them aren't organic. So it's another huge thing I wanted to do was create a bar that was going to have basically everything a woman needs in larger amounts, and something that was going to be like supporting their body. So it was the organic that I really didn't see a ton of. There's like GoMacro, the RX bar is one, like it's not organic. A lot of them have like artificial sweeteners, sugar alcohols, natural flavors. It's basically an umbrella term. So anything can really be in natural flavors. So that's something that my bar doesn't do. We just use like real fruit or fruit powders that are freeze dried. So they're going to be way more nutritious. And yeah, there's a lot of things, but those are the biggest things. Also taste. A lot of them are very chalky that are a protein bar. So not only is this bar going to be higher in vitamins and minerals, real food, but it's also going to be higher in protein. So we actually use grass-fed collagen, which is a really important, you know, ingredient that I added that was something that was really hard for me to do at first, was not do a vegan protein. That's probably a little bit of a different conversation. But that was a little bit hard because I knew a lot of my community ate a little more like plant-based, but I also saw, I feel like, a trend kind of going on the whole past year that people were going more animal-based. And I kept the grass-fed collagen because it helped with the taste, and it helped, you know, support women not only with their hormone health, but also their gut health. There's so many important amino acids that are found in grass-fed collagen that help support the gut lining and help repair the gut lining, which is really important for regulating hormones and also bone health, joint mobility. So it's kind of hitting all those areas in terms of women's, you know, life stages. So that's about the bars. In terms of what I didn't find, I don't see any grass-fed collagen in any other bars as well. It's usually a cheap protein, like whey protein, pea protein. It's always the same thing, or they don't have protein at all. And no one's really kind of focusing on like a functional food for the bar. So that's the biggest thing I noticed in the bar category. But in terms of my flavors, I have a chai spice and a cherry berry and a nutty cacao. So they're all completely 3 different, really different tasting flavors. The first one is definitely geared toward menstruation. So that's another thing. Basically, there are a multivitamin in a bar. You can have it at any time in your menstrual cycle, any life stage that you are in. But they are going to have different flavor elements. This is just more for fun and for people who love cycle syncing, because the people who buy the bars are typically the ones who started off seed cycling. So basically each flavor is geared toward a different phase as well. Just the flavor concept, so the different superfoods that are added. So for example, the chai spice, that one is going to have turmeric, cinnamon, clove, and also ginger. The olive ginger, but this one, you're going to taste it more. And that one's really yummy. And then there's another one that's the cherry berry. That one is, dried cherries in it. We don't have any like vegetable oils in these bars as well, which a lot of other bars do because it's a lot cheaper. So that's a huge thing. That was a huge learning curve, as well as keeping the cost like not crazy. So it's gonna be a sustainable business. That was the hardest parts of the business as well, is like keeping it all organic and not having any additives, but they're hard to find. It's also hard to like keep the cost kind of like where it should be. So that was definitely a hard thing to do as well with it. But the cherry berries, pomegranate powder, cherries, goji berries, and also maca powder as well. So this is great for your follicular phase, kind of after menstruation. And the other one's going to be the luteal phase bar, which is going to be the cacao powder, sesame seeds, sunflower butter. We have beet powder as well in there. So kind of preparing the body for menstruation. Also, those nutrients are great because if anyone knows about seed cycling, the radiant blend, that's for the luteal phase of sesame and sunflower seeds. So I kind of have those little ingredients as well to kind of boost like B vitamins in that bar, as B vitamins are really important for the luteal phase, just because of, energy being lower and mood swings being more prevalent. And those always help boost happy neurotransmitters and kind of support that phase. But overall, they are both like high, or they're all high in micronutrients like vitamin E, selenium, zinc, magnesium, iron, all those important nutrients for every single day.
Love it. Yeah, they're all delicious in their own right. They are like 3 unique flavors that are all delicious. And I think that that's really saying something too, because there are so many bars out there that do have like this chalky flavor or like a crazy like birthday cake flavor or something, but they're just natural ingredients and you kind of let them speak for themselves, which I think is so awesome. And you spoke a little bit about the macronutrients. We love the micronutrients in the bars, but in terms of protein, how much protein are in your MBody bars?
So right now we have 3 different bars. It's 11 to 13 grams. So one is going to be 11 grams, one's going to be 12 grams, and one's going to be 13 grams of protein.
Okay, awesome. So great, like post-workout snacks, great snacks throughout the day. And if you combine it with, a beef stick or something, you've got a quick lunch on the go. In terms of like getting your protein anyway. So you mentioned a couple other bars on the market, and I know that I have spent more time than I'd like to admit standing in front of the bar aisle in the grocery store when I'm like in a bind, and honestly, when I don't have the time to be standing there, but I'm like, I need something quick to eat. And I'm looking at the labels, and some of them have great amounts of protein. They've got 20 or more grams of protein, but I'm looking at the ingredients label and I can't pronounce most of the ingredients on the list. Like, why does this have to be so complicated? So I know you share a lot of great educational content on your Instagram. I know you've done comparisons. So how do your bars compare to like some of the top competitors, especially for women? I'd say probably like the GoMacro bars, RX bars, Lunar bars, Larabars.
Yeah, those 4 are really good ones because those are always the 4 that I feel like are typically the most common. So I'll start off with Larabars just because that one was always one that I talked about in the beginning of the bar, because they actually started off as a women's health bar. A lot of people think of Lunar Bar, coming from Cliff as the women's health bar on the market. So that always made me laugh, because when you really break down the Lunar Bar and you look at the micronutrients, they are a little bit higher in iron, they're higher in those types of nutrients, but it's just coming from synthetic sources. So it's not actually coming from real food. So I always say, if you turn over the label, you're not really going to see, a Brazil nut for selenium, or you're not going to see anything like that. So that's a really important one. And Lunar Bar, just similar to Cliff bars in general, not that they're bad bars and you can't eat them, but they are going to be more higher in sugar. You're going to see like, corn syrup or something like that as being like one of the top 2 ingredients when you look at a Lunar Bar. And like I said, the biggest thing that always I pointed out with Lunar Bars is just that they weren't coming from real food sources. They were fortified against synthetic. And that was something I just wanted to kind of create better. But that one is going to be higher in iron, but it's also not going to be high in like selenium. Basically all the micronutrients I have in higher amounts, like that one's not going to have. So that's a little bit the Lunar Bar. what was the next one you said? Larabar, Larabar. That one is going to be higher in protein, or that one's not going to be higher in protein. The Lunar Bar is a little bit higher in protein. The Larabar is going to be more like a sweet tooth. So I think that one was the one I actually did an Instagram reel on comparing it. That one's great. Like I love the Larabar because I think the ingredients are really good. It's not organic. So it's the one thing is like almonds are heavily sprayed with pesticides, especially that type of nut. So Larabars obviously has a lot of those different types of nuts in it. So just kind of be aware of that. But as far as Larabars, I always look at them as being like a great snack for like after you eat dinner or something like that. If it's like a little sweet tooth, it's just date based. So it's super great. There's no added sugars in it like the Lunar Bar is. I remember that bar just having sugar. It didn't have any like real fruit or anything like that. But the Larabar is great for that, just like 4 or 5 ingredients. So something really important to look at is making sure either has a short ingredient list or does have a long ingredient list. Like mine's actually technically long, which is funny because I have so many ingredients in it, but it's all good, good food ingredients. But for a rule of thumb, most companies, if they're longer, that's going to be because they have more like additives and fillers and things like that. But the Larabar is great. Again, just keep in mind, there's no protein in it. That was one of the biggest things. It's not organic. There's not a lot of protein at all. It's just coming from nuts. I think it's like 4 or 5 grams of protein, maybe 6. But always for like a snack, rule of thumb is to always get a protein bar. It's going to be around like at least over 10 grams of protein, but it's great if it's like more around 12. So that's like a big thing with the Larabar. RX bar, that one's always the one that people always compare mine to. When I was doing field marketing in San Diego, like in the beginning of the year, I always got people comparing my bar, like, oh, are you trying to make an RX bar? Because it was like real food, and like that was always their thing. And high in protein has all of those, and I will say, it may have been better quality, when Peter Rahal, like the founder of RX bar, when they did it. But ever since it took off of Kellogg's, like you just don't really know what you're getting. I think a lot of people are aware of that. Like, the fruit, like what kind of fruit are they using, like in the bar? There's a lot of, if you look do your research with our expert with Kellogg's, I think there's a lot of flack a little bit on it. Like, is it really that clean? So again, it's not organic as well. And that is a huge thing with organic foods, because when you are getting that label on your bar, that's a huge thing, because every single ingredient is going to be organic, or about over 95% of it is going to be organic to get the symbol. So you just don't really know where your ingredients are coming from. And with something, again, from Kellogg's, I think everyone kind of knows that, like, you just don't really know the quality, versus coming from, the founder themselves. So they obviously put more intention into it. So that's a big thing. They're not organic, but also they just use egg whites. Egg whites is great. It's a great animal-based protein, but as far as being supportive for your health, I always say look for a more like gut-friendly type of protein, which is where kind of the grass-fed collagen comes in. And flavor, I will also mention with the RX bar, and consistency, that a lot of people always told me with the RX bar that it was always sometimes like hard to eat. My bars are very, very soft. So that was a big point that I always wanted to do with my bar, is to make something that was going to be more soft to consume, and not like hard as a rock like an RX bar. Some people love that, but some people really just don't like that because hard. I know, you know what I mean?
That's exactly, I was going to say, the MBody bars are much easier on your jaw than an RX bar.
And people don't always say to me, like, yeah, that tastes like nothing like an RX bar. So yeah, I always mention taste with that one, because there's also very date-based. They don't have as many ingredients as I do. So I'll just do a comparison with this one. I'll take a little more time with this one, because I do get a lot of comparisons. But that one is going to be more kind of like Larabar, except it's basically RX are basically a Larabar with protein, egg white. So like nuts, dates, and the protein, so the egg whites. However, versus mine, it's going to have like grass-fed collagen. It's going to have the nuts as well. But if you really look at the different types of nuts that I use in the seeds, that's another thing. A lot of bars do not have seeds. So, like pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds. And another thing is they're really expensive. Like I pick the most expensive nuts and seeds because they're the best, highest quality, of the ones that are going to be yielding the micronutrients that I want in the bar. So I had to like pick those different types of superfoods, but rarely do you see any bars that have pumpkin seeds and hemp seeds. Again, in those protein bars, obviously you'll see them in little like granola bars and things like that. But in the type of bar that I'm talking about, you're not going to say pumpkin seeds, hemp seeds, Brazil nuts, You're going to see cashews, and we do that for like, the formula to get it the right consistency. But we also like adaptogens, real fruit powders. Those are really important too. A lot of people use natural flavors. Again, natural flavors aren't like a bad thing either. You just don't really know like what they're coming from. It's just an umbrella term. Just kind of be aware when a product has natural flavors. But again, we use dried fruit powders, adaptogens like ashwagandha, maca powder, and also different types of like fruit powders, like beet powder, pomegranate powder, other thing you don't really see in bars. And also herbs, obviously. So the big thing, and like spices, that's actually where we're getting our flavors. Not only freeze dried, fruit powders and just dried fruit in general, but we're also going to be putting in, turmeric, cloves, cinnamon. All these are really, great, herbs to use as medicine, great spices to use as medicine. 1,000 milligrams of ginger. That's something that every bar has. And this was definitely a hard thing to create in a bar to give it 1,000 milligrams of ginger, which has been research backed to help with so many things in women's health, like nausea, like period pain, even like migraines, morning sickness, things like that. And it was difficult to get it to make sure the flavor like wasn't coming out in the bars. Only the chai spice will you taste it, because that's a huge flavor profile, but you won't really taste in the cherry berry or the nutty cacao flavor. But yeah, you're not going to see any of those kind of medicinal foods. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but that's the biggest thing, is just the quality. When you look at, the ingredients, the MBody bar versus another bar, you're going to realize why you're paying the price you're paying. Let's just say that, just due to the different types of ingredients that are, in one. And also the density. Our bars, that may be changing when I go to a co-packer, but right now the bars compared to the bars in the market is going to be way more dense. So you are going to be getting a bigger bar in terms of like, our X bar being like 62 grams, like in terms of weight, you're going to be getting a bar that's, a little bit more than that as well. So right now I think we're at 70 grams. That could be changing with, a manufacturing, just depends how that goes. But right now we're still making them in a commercial kitchen. So we've been, making them bigger bars, but each bar is around like 250 to like 280 like calories around there. So that's going to be a lot bigger of a bar than a bar you're going to find on the market as well, like an RX bar, which is a little bit tinier as well. And what was the last one you said? GoMacro. That one's great. I actually love the GoMacro bar. I think it's a really great taste. But again, the same forms of the ingredients, that's really where my bar is so different. You're not going to be getting the same ingredients. And that one definitely isn't like a food as medicine bar. It is a protein bar, but it's just going to have like oats, kind of just the basic ingredients that I don't like saying this. I should do like that company, but like, it's just like cheaper ingredients. They are organic, which is great, but like, it's just going to be ingredients that aren't really going to do much like for your body in terms of having like health changes and things like that, which is really where the MBody bar kind of comes in. It's really kind of geared with your body in mind. It's actually going to be something that's going to have, health, impacts on your body.
Yeah. The GoMacro bars do taste really delicious. And the thing that gets me about those is they have so much sugar in them. And I feel like in relation to like what else you're getting in the bar, like it's not really justified, especially when, you're going usually for like protein, not for like a sugar spike and then like the inevitable crash, but they do have so many delicious flavors. But that's the bone I have to pick with GoMacro bars.
I agree. Yeah. And you're right. Because they are higher in sugar, but also not coming from like dates or anything like that, which in my head, if I see something as date, and I'm like, at least I know that's going to have more fiber in the bar and it's going to be helping my blood sugar, especially as paired with higher fat and protein. But you're right. That's a big thing too. I completely forgot about they obviously don't have date in their bar. So.
Yeah. And to your point with all of the, you have all organic ingredients in your bars, and some people might be listening and thinking, well, like, I don't really care that much because it's just like this quick thing that I'm grabbing on the go. But if you're somebody that every single day is reaching for a bar, like for your afternoon snack or for your post-workout, like protein fuel, that adds up over time. And especially if it's like the sprayed almonds or whatever it is, like if you're dealing with something like an inflammatory issue or PMS symptoms or something, why not do everything that you can to help mitigate those symptoms? So you kind of brought up, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was saying the big thing too with the bars is it's not, because my background's in dietetics and nutrition, I used kind of everything that I used in there, and I built the bar off of like all of that. So that's like a big change as well. It's hard to like break down every bar because it's kind of, I do repeat a lot of the same things, but the basis of the bar is it's not going to be high in those different types of ingredients. It's not going to have the quality. It's not going to have the certain types of ingredients that were chosen. But that's a big thing as well that I kind of always forget about. That's like kind of the big reason as well, is that's going to be formulated with, by people. It was me, and also, what was I going to say? Yeah, it was me, like basically my background's in dietetics. So when I formulated the bar, I wanted it to be something that was going to have like these specific ingredients to have these certain types of, micronutrients in higher amounts. So that's like the basis of the bar and why it's so different from the other bars in the market. But
yeah, absolutely. And you kind of brought up some cost comparison. So can you go into a little bit of the cost of MBody bars? I think I've done the math a little bit on your website, and for the ingredients that you're getting, the cost is really not that much higher. Am I correct about that?
Yeah. Yeah. And a big thing is that the shipping is included. Sometimes people kind of breeze through that, but shipping's a lot. When you're shipping out like 12, 18, 28 bars, that goes to like 3 to 5 pounds sometimes. So I've always covered the cost of shipping on my website. I don't want that to ever change. And so that is reflected. So right now for like a 12 pack, you'll probably see it more like $6 a bar, but that's more like $5 a bar basically. So rule of thumb is going to be more like $5. It's going to look maybe like a little bit higher than that per bar when you look at the packages, but it's because the shipping is going to be included in there as well. But yeah, the bar is around 5 to 6 is what I always say.
Okay. And then I know you have like different like bulk options. So the more bars that you're buying, that brings the cost down as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the 28 bar count, are going to be looking more at like 4 to 5 for the thing of the bar. So yeah, if you ever, love the bars, I always say that, and you get a large pack, you probably saw that. It's going to be a lot cheaper. It's going to be more comparative to the bars you're going to see like just in the grocery store, which is great.
Yeah. Especially these days.
Yeah.
Grocery store prices.
Most bars are $4. The grocery store, you're right. So
yeah. So you kind of brought up something that I wasn't planning on asking you about, but I would love to hear your thoughts on. You were talking about RX being bought out by Kellogg, and like we were constantly hearing things about this, like Bragg's apple cider vinegar was bought by Katy Perry last year or something, and people are making their own apple cider vinegar now. What, as a founder of like a product-based company, like what are your thoughts on that? Like, obviously you want to be a successful founder, you want your company to be profitable. Where do you stand on that?
I don't know. It really, again, I can't ever put myself, that's more of like something that happened. Like, I think that happened for them like 5 to 10 years of like the bar kind of like hitting this role for them. I think it was 5 years for Peter Rahal, if I remember right, for RX bar. But that's a hard thing. Obviously, things I would definitely say versus other people in the food space, I'm way more like, just as I think my background, it's like I care so much about the quality. I think a little more than probably anyone, just as a lot of people more have background in business, or they just don't have like that type of health background, like working one-on-one with people and kind of seeing the struggles that other people see. I think for me, it's like, for other founders, I would say, yes, like they can do kind of whatever they want. A lot of the times people don't see like what they're seeing every single day. Like running a food-based business is a lot. And like even these people who are in all these grocery stores, like that's usually what happens. They're in all these grocery stores before they ever get bought out. Like they've made a ton of money off of them, but it's also a lot of stress. And it's like, is this something that can be realistic, like to keep up with, just get bought out, like that type of thing. So for them, I definitely say, it's fine. For me, I can't even put myself in that situation. Like, because I think that'd be a very, very, very long time if that ever happened. But I don't know. That's a hard one personally, because again, every single business is so different, but I just think it would be really hard to think. I don't think everyone thinks of it with these types of, food-based companies. Oh, like my quality is going to be worse. That may be bad for me to think, but I don't feel like a lot of people probably think that. I think they're just like, oh, like my baby, like I've worked so hard for, it's going to be given up, which I think, most people think that, but I kind of look at it from a different perspective. Like I feel like I may be letting people down. So, I don't know if I would ever do that, because I know it would be hard to see it being probably made differently. And that would definitely be hard, but I don't know. That's going to be something that I would have to answer later on. You know, things change so much in 5 to 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just always wonder, like, especially for companies that are started with such strong values and then end up selling out to big conglomerate corporations, like they have to know what's going to happen to their brand. So I always just wonder if they're like, I'm ready to be done with this and I'm out, or, if there was some kind of deal worked out in there. And, I can only hope that for you that some opportunity comes along, because you do have really amazing products. You're doing wonderful things for women's health and nutrition. But I also think that there's always you always have options. There's maybe always a different way to do things, and your commitment to your brand, I feel like if anyone is going to find a different way, it'll be you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's definitely hard. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause the ones that like our expert did have strong values with the quality of the bar, but I just think, again, like the stress, I think that's a huge thing too. Like the stress these people are facing every single day, like it's so different from an average person's life. I feel like when they get to kind of that point. So I think that's a huge reason also why they do that as well. But
yeah, I cannot even imagine running a product-based business.
Yeah.
It just seems like a totally different beast than doing service-based. And I've even had ideas for like things totally unrelated to what I do. And that's just like, wow, that seems like a long road to go down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I always went into this being like, I did not think it was going to be that hard. I think that's what everyone always says. It's like, I didn't know it was going to be that hard, but yeah. But it's good, especially if you have a strong why, why you're doing it, and you really care a lot about the product and the end goal of it, then it's worth it.
Yeah. To that end, do you have any advice for someone that might be thinking about a product-based business or is in development or thinking about something like that?
Yeah, I would first definitely say do a lot of, it's probably basic to say, just definitely a couple of things. First, I was going to say do a lot of research on your on the market and kind of who else is in your space. Because I know when I did my company, I didn't do a ton of research. I felt I did more like field marketing, a lot more locally in San Diego, which was great to kind of get like feedback, but to make sure like, all the businesses that are in your market, kind of who there's, for example, if they are going into women's health, kind of know, where are you going to be in women's health, what type of, age bracket, and just look at what other companies are going to be in that space. Because I think a lot of times it's like, oh, like the women's health market, it's super huge, but like, where are you actually heading? You know what I mean? Like, where is that going to be? Who are you actually going to be targeting? Because everyone has a target group in a women's health category. Everyone does. So definitely like have that, but also I always say have a strong why. It's the most basic thing, but I definitely like would have probably quit like a year ago or 2 years ago if I didn't have a strong why or just really had like more of like a, a purpose like behind the brand. So if you have that and you're really passionate about it, again, these are all really basic things to say, but it does go a long way. And I'm sure you can, even service-based. I mean, if you have a huge passion when you're starting off with a business, it's going to make, when you're not making any money, it's going to keep you going. I think that's a huge thing. It's product-based, the huge thing. So obviously it's do your research, but I think the biggest thing I'm trying to say is also make sure you're passionate about it and you have a strong why behind it, because you're not going to be making any money with product-based because everything's going to be funneled back into it to like get manufacturing and all of that. And that was something that I never really realized how much money everything was to do. But that's basically what keeps you going, because product-based, you do have, smaller margins than you do if you have more of like service-based, just as all the overhead. So make sure you're passionate about it and make sure, you love it that much that when you're not making any money, it's going to pay off. And also keep like a side job as well if you're not working full-time. That's a big thing as well, because I didn't work full-time. I always had like a side kind of party, like nannying or like working in a cafe, something like that. Keep that going as well, but live below your means, things like that.
Excellent pieces of advice. And I think the niching down thing, like finding your why, your brand story, whatever you want to call it, is really important. I can say that, the 3 years that I've been building my business, I've definitely had those moments, those weeks or months where I was like, I don't know if this is it, but I am so passionate about sharing this information that it's something that I have to keep going at. And obviously same thing for you. And it's starting to pay off, and you start to see the fruits of your labor eventually.
Exactly. Yeah, it is really important. So I think a lot of people talk about like the fun of everything. That's all you see on Instagram is like highlight reels. And like you don't really know, like, that's like a huge thing I think on Instagram for younger people, especially who get into business, is because you're not really seeing like, what they're actually doing on like the weekends, or like, how they're like supporting their business. So I think that's really important to like be straightforward with that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, especially now, like, I think that it's great that there are more open conversations about money and like income and earnings and stuff, but that's not the, $10,000 launches, $70,000 launches is not necessarily the norm. That's something that people have tried and failed, tried and failed, tried and failed. And then eventually you hit the money on it once you've learned from all of your mistakes and you get all that feedback. So it's really easy to fall into that comparison trap, but just, if I've learned anything, it's stay the course, stay in your lane, keep your blinders on.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a big thing, is like focus on yourself, build yourself first, because there is, especially if you have a business nowadays, you probably are on social media. Most of the time, I think it is easy as well to not really like compare yourself, but get distracted. You know what I mean? With like, whatever else is doing. And like, you want to make sure you're focusing on yourself and building your brand, because, that's where the authenticity is. If you start, sometimes, people always say that sometimes the Instagram experts, if you are looking at other businesses too much in your niche and what they're doing, that it starts to kind of seep into you, and then you're losing the authenticity that you had. So I think that's another like really good point that you just kind of made me think about. But
that's actually something that especially when you're in like you're niched down, you're in a health space, you're in women's health, your Instagram, especially for your business, that community becomes so many like-minded people, which is awesome to know that those people are out there. But I've found myself being like, oh, well, they shared that already, so I saw it. So, everybody must have seen it. And then, holding myself back from creating things because I've seen other people do it so much. So I really had to edit, and it's probably time for me to go through again and like edit down my feed so that I can just live in my own inspiration and like just channel my own thoughts into my business.
I totally relate to that.
So shifting gears a little bit, I had another question, which hopefully you'll want to answer this question. I see a lot of dietitians and nutritionists on social media who they are almost attacking the holistic health space and saying that some of the things that we preach and suggest and claim as true because they really have changed our lives are either classist or ridiculous or elitist, because the main thing that I'm thinking of is seed oils, because seed oils are so ubiquitous in all of the foods that we see in the grocery store. And I see this camp of, these are certified professionals, these are registered dietitians and nutritionists saying that, no, don't listen to those people. Seed oils are just fine for you. So this just like, it's kind of like a little worm in my brain sometimes. And I'm just like, man, this is so confusing for me that these people would legitimately say this. So what are your feelings on that, or your thoughts?
I have a lot to say on that, as my background, like, my background's in dietetics, but I am not a dietitian. And I always like to kind of bring up that story, kind of starting this off, because I know what they were educated on in their dietetics education. I always knew I wanted to do something more in the holistic health space. And I didn't know when I signed up to go nutritional sciences and dietetics. Not saying I didn't, after I say all this, I obviously love my education. I learned a lot from it, actually really helped me formulate my own decision, like where I stood I had like a very solid understanding where I stood in both functional health and more conventional. I say conventional nutrition. I don't even know if that's really a term. But I say that because in the dietetic space, it is very clinical. It is very, honey's an added sugar. You're not taught about how honey's actually, raw honey, super nutritious for you. You know what I'm trying to say. It's more kind of on like the calories. It's more kind of focused on what the FDA recommends. That's probably a little bit different other story. But let's just say the education is just a lot different. In terms of vegetable oils, we are taught in dietetics that it's fine. We're taught it's very similar to olive oil, and avocado oil. It's very equals. So that's where they're getting that information is. I always say, I feel like when I went to Penn State as a great college and everything. Everyone's taught very similar in all dietetics fields or in every dietetics program in any college. But what we're taught is that, like I said, like vegetable oils are very similar to olive oil and avocado oil. So I just don't think a lot of people who, if they don't go on their own functional health journey, if they don't go on some sort of journey that, they have to kind of like, for example, I always say coming off birth control. I think it's a big one. I think most women go on, they kind of go back to functional medicine or start functional medicine. But yeah, it's very conventional is basically what I'm trying to say. Everything's kind of funded more like what you're kind of learning is, what the FDA recommends, which it's fine, but you're not taught to use food as medicine. You're not, and holistic health is very different. You're taught more on how to use different foods to support your body. And with dietetics, it's more, again, going to be more clinical nutrition based. And it always just feels like nothing's really updated. I always feel like when I went, I always felt like this seems like nothing was updated. Like, I think another one is like, oh, gluten and dairy, I agree with some of that. Because gluten and dairy really aren't bad. But for some people, it can make them more bloated or can be irritating them. So hey, if they want to cut out gluten, that's totally okay. But I also get the whole root cause that people also need to address that, it could be poor gut health. So maybe if you get that in line, dairy and gluten will be fine with you. So a lot of it is just, I think there's always an asterisk with all the things people say. I don't think, there's like a little misunderstanding, I feel like on both, but I think that's one of the biggest two things, the gluten-free and dairy-free thing. And also, like I said, the vegetable oils is a big one. When I interned with dietitians, that's when I knew I didn't want to be a dietitian. I thought they were super great and super nice, but what they are kind of taught is like artificial sweeteners are fine. I'm sure you've heard of that as well. Like that's a big one. It's like, oh, like drink all the diet soda you want. I'm like, what? Like true story. It was like a bariatric private practice. It was also with diabetes as well. Like, people just for plain nutrition consults I interned for. And that has really woke me up to be like, I don't really think it's something I want to do. It also costs money to do a dietetic internship. So I was like, I'm just, I'm going to kind of stay in my lane and do kind of what I always wanted to do and kind of get in like the functional medicine, like hormone health space that I wanted to do and get some experience after college instead, like working for a school was what I did. But yeah, a lot of it is like fats, limit your fats. They're kind of very big on, carbohydrates are better because that's what we're taught, on the My Food Pyramid. Everyone kind of knows that it's carbohydrates are usually on the bottom, closer to the bottom, like fats are a little more kind of the top. In reality, for a lot of people, like healthy fats are going to help them stay fuller. I'm kind of that person that says like, if you're eating a ton of carbs and like not enough fats, it's probably why you're always hungry, why your blood sugar is off and kind of why we have all these chronic issues that people experience because of kind of what we're taught. And it is scary because that's what nutritionists or dietitians specifically, are kind of taught. We're taught that in My Food Pyramid, we're taught all that. And people don't kind of go on their own health journeys. Like I went on mine very early in college because I got a birth control when I was in college. And that started really early on. I mean, I worked like holistic juice bars when I was younger. So luckily I had all those experiences. I didn't really kind of get, kind of into that space because I definitely want to be doing what I'm doing either. But I hope that kind of clears up a lot of, hopefully that clears up things because it's just the education is just different. That's like all this. It's very similar to kind of doctors versus functional medicine doctors.
Yeah,
we all,
no, that definitely helps. Like they're taking this education they got at face value, haven't had any reason to dig a little deeper into it. And so that's what they're sharing. And I honestly have personal experience too. When my dad was in treatment for cancer, I mean, they didn't have like a dietitian or a nutritionist there, but when he's going through treatment, they're saying, well, if he's just going to eat McDonald's, that's fine. Like, that's, better than nothing, which you
yeah.
could make the argument that eating McDonald's is better than eating nothing, but there's so many things that are better than eating McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that dynamic, because again, there's, it's just, yeah, like I said, I think the best thing is to kind of compare it in like doctors and functional medicine, doctors like dietitians, like, let's say, nutrition is it's a different education. And that's kind of where they're having their health beliefs. And a lot of people, similar to doctors and similar to dietitians, whether they go on their own health journey or they've had a certain client, they may totally, change their kind of, what they believe, just from kind of having like more experience maybe in that route. But yeah, don't take everything. I always tell people, like, don't take everything at face value, and like, look at it, look into it for yourself, because it's totally fine to have your own opinion, your own stance on something. But definitely, just because, like everything, just because a dietitian says something, that sounds probably so bad saying that, but it is true. Since a dietitian says, vegetable oils are bad, don't always, and same with me or you, like, don't always believe like one person just a certain credential that they have. And that's so, I feel like, not I wasn't saying politically correct, but like, it's just not something that people like to hear. But it's true. It's similar, to your doctor's office. Just because they say something doesn't mean that maybe you should look into it for yourself or have your own opinion on it. So I think it's just really important, like, respect other people's opinions, but make sure you're going into it, for yourself and looking up what's best for you and what your personal beliefs are.
Yeah, being skeptical is a good thing. And
I'm sure a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit.
I'm sure we could do probably a whole conversation talking about the food pyramid and like the FDA, like updated recommendations. So I'm not even going to go there right now.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, because we just celebrated the new year. This is a really popular time to be making New Year's resolutions and trying new diets and going for weight loss and things like that. What do you have to say about that? Where do you stand in terms of fad diets, diet culture, New Year's resolutions?
So I would say, first thing is, don't let your friends, it always pops up if like in the New Year's, there's a lot of people, they have friends, they have family all going on these diets, not always them. And they kind of always feel pressure to kind of do. And I always say, do what's best for you. I think it's great to make goals. So definitely continue to do that. I know people don't like to hear always like the new year, new means. It's like, oh, like just because it's a new year doesn't mean, same thing as start on Monday doesn't mean you can start whenever or whatever, but definitely, take advantage of being the new year as well. Like definitely make goals, but also, do what's best for your body. Like in terms of diet culture and fad diets. Yeah. Like if you're doing something initially and this is not going to be realistic. I think we all have that sense in us. It's like, I don't see myself doing calorie counting for the rest of my life. And it's like, maybe, I think it's a great question to ask yourself. It's just like, and you're probably going to say no, because it's not going to be something that's going to be realistic, but, similar to like going keto or like eating low carb or like, any of those different types of diets, juice cleanses. I mean, that's definitely something popular in the holistic health space. I think they've kind of faded out. I don't really hear about them that much anymore, but that's definitely not gonna be something that I would recommend either. But like I said, definitely go with, what's best for your body. And also don't let friends and family kind of dictate, what you want to do. Because I think a lot of times when we do New Year's, we always want to ask your family, like, what are they doing? And like, oh, how about you do with me? And, that's not always the best either. So just make sure you make New Year goals, make sure they're realistic. Sorry.
That's okay. I think that that's great advice, because I mean, just reflecting back, like I know I've had clients, just Pilates clients who, or maybe had the goal of wanting to lose weight. And they're like, oh, I'm doing the Whole30. My best friend did the Whole30 and she lost, 20, 25 pounds. And I've been doing it for 2 months and nothing's happening. And, nothing is one size fits all. And it's really I, started talking in November. I was like, I am anti New Year's resolution. Not that you shouldn't set goals, but like, why wait until January to just take control of your health and nutrition and just get into like a rhythm that works for you? That's why I love the 80-20 lifestyle so much, because you are staying healthy most of the time. You have your habits that keep you feeling good, but you also get to indulge and enjoy your life without restriction. I know when I was dancing, there was periods of time where I felt like, oh, I really need to lose weight. I'm only going to eat vegetables, and then, I could eat plates and plates of vegetables and you're still hungry. You still have cravings.
Exactly.
You still go to the corner store and buy a pint of ice cream.
Exactly. That's so important. Yeah, exactly. I think habits and routines, I feel like that's even the most important. I feel like, because when you build those habits and routines, that's just going to build off like what your goals are. It's going to help you kind of have a foundation. I think that's the word I'm looking for, is foundation. That's really important to have that there. It's going to help build off of all other goals you have.
Yeah. And like, if you have, that foundation set in place, you really shouldn't feel like you need to do this major overhaul to your health and lifestyle. Maybe if it's something like totally new to you to approach things like that, it'll feel that way at first, but then hopefully it doesn't feel so drastic after that, once you get used to it.
Exactly.
Well, I always like to ask my guests what some of their favorite wellness habits or routines or practices they have right now. Do you have anything that you're really into at the moment?
I feel like you know what I'm going to say, but definitely, because I've gone into Pilates. Well, it's great. It's just like, you already know the difference between the two, but I've gone into that since March. I started doing it like once a week. And then when I moved to San Diego in May, I started doing it like every single day. I love it. It's like the one exercise that I do every single day that I love, that it's low impact and, it's better for my hormones. I was always someone who did more like HIIT and just more intense workouts and just always felt bloated and like not good. So this is such a different type of workout I've ever done, but I do that every single day. It's something I look forward to every single day. I'm a big, like, pick the workout that you enjoy. Now, Legree definitely wasn't fun in the beginning, like Pilates, like definitely not fun when you're not used to it, but stick it out for a little bit and then see if you start to enjoy it. I think that's also a kind of a little asterisk I want to put there, is like workouts that are new aren't always going to be super fun and be really challenging, but the longer you do them, if you start to really like them, maybe something that you'll fall in love with. So that's like a big thing that I started doing that I absolutely love. Just, I feel like I'm not completely drained after I do it. I feel like, I know you're probably, you're an instructor, so I know you are all over this too, but you just feel so much more energetic. So pick like a workout you enjoy and something that gives you energy instead of taking away energy.
Love it. I love it. So where can everybody find your seed cycle kits, your MBody bars? Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, so they can connect with me on Instagram. So Manskis_wellness, MANSKIS on Instagram, and on TikTok, it's Manskis Wellness as well. And also my website, if you want to get the bars, manskiswellness.com. And you'll see different packages there with a seed cycling kit with the bars as well. That's a little bit more affordable price as well. You get the bundle option. And we have different counts as well, like 12 count, 18 counts, 28 counts of bars. And we do have a little 3-bar sampler pack as well. If you use MBody at checkout, MBODY in all caps, it ends January 21st, but if you do want to ever just try the seed cycling subscription and that's it, there's going to be a bar. There's going to be all 3 bars basically in the package for free. So that's going to be like, $15 to $18 value that you're going to get there for free with every single box. So that's something else to look into.
Awesome. I'll definitely link all of that in the show notes. I have really enjoyed catching up with you, Julia. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much to all of the listeners. If you're not already following the show, make sure you hit the follow button or the subscribe button so that you can get new episodes every week. And I will talk to you next week.